Good morning, grade 8, and welcome to our mathematics class. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are going to be looking at ways of recalling the multiplication facts and also the basic knowledge that helps build another knowledge of multiplication fact. You will also be able to extend the multiplication fact at the end of this lesson. I hope you do enjoy it and that you are ready with your pen, pencils, and paper in front of you. So let us go ahead and start with our lesson. I hope you do enjoy. All right. Firstly, looking at the screen, we have heading says mental calculations. All right. If you're looking at A, B, C, and D, and you are able to give the answer without using a calculator of 2 multiplied by 3, 6 multiplied by 4, 50 multiplied by 20, 3 multiplied by 5, then it means that you do understand what mental calculation is. Okay, so if you can just look at a sum and just by looking at it and quickly do the calculation in your head and come up with an answer, it means that you are able to do the mental calculations. And that's how mental calculation is done. You don't have to work out every step. You just work out the calculation in your head. Okay. All right. Now, the basic knowledge of mental calculation will be able to assist with building the knowledge of another multiplication fact. All right. If you are able to look at 2 multiplied by 3 and know that it is equal to 6, and also 3 multiplied by 2 equals to 6, it then tells me that you'll be able to know the following steps. All right. However, we must keep in mind that our commutative property of multiplication says changing the order of factors does not change the product. We did that last week. When we were doing the properties of multiplication. All right, and commutative was our first one that we did. So today we are also going to be using that rule of mathematics that says whenever you are changing the factors around, that does not mean that the product is going to change. Okay. All right, so how does this knowledge help us build another fact knowledge about multiplications? All right. If you know that, as I've mentioned, if you know that 2 multiplied by 3 equals 6 and 3 multiplied by 2 also equals 6, then you can easily be able to see that 2 multiplied by 30 is equal to 60. 30 multiplied by 2 equals to 60. You're just changing the factors around. The product remains the same. And also, if you're looking at 2 multiplied by 300, without the use of a calculator, you'll be able to see that, okay, if 2 multiplied by 3 is 6, then definitely 2 multiplied by 300 should give us 600, right? And also 300 multiplied by 2 should still give us 600 because we are using the same factors, they're just in different spaces, or rather different places. They've swapped places. And again, going to your thousands, if you take the same 2 multiplied by 3,000, the answer should be 6,000. And also 3,000 multiplied by 2, your answer should still be 6,000. All right, because we are applying the commutative property of multiplication. Okay, and also looking at 2 multiplied by 30,000 equals to 60,000. And again, 30,000 multiplied by 2 equals to 60,000. All right. Now we are extending our factors. Also, you will be able to see that 20 multiplied by 30. Now, these are your tens, right? We started with a 2, and now we are going to our tens. So if you are able to know 2 multiplied by 30 is 60, you can easily pick up also that 20 multiplied by 30 equals 600. I remember in my class when I was doing grade 5 and grade 6, our teachers used to tell us that whenever you're doing multiplication, like in your tens, if you have 20 multiplied by 30, you first multiply 2 multiplied by 3, okay, that's 6, and then you just count in the number of zeros that you have, which is, I have 2 zeros, then you just add those to 6. Those were the techniques that they would give us. I think it still works even today, so you can use that technique. Also on the following one, where it says 20 multiplied by 300, the answer is 6,000. Let's check if this technique still works. Okay, how many zeros do we have? 1, 2, 3 zeros. And 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. And then we just take the number of zeros and add it next to the number 6. All right. And then again, the vice versa. Now we go to our hundreds. We have 200 multiplied by 30, which is now 6,000. And also 200 multiplied by 300, which gives us an answer of 60,000. Okay. All right. Now we have a step-by-step of doing the multiplication. All right. There's another way of doing the multiplication where you can expand your values, where you expand it and put them into place value parts. All right. The first step is to break down the numbers. Okay, I'll give you the numbers just now after I've explained. First step is to break down the numbers into their value parts. And then the second step is to distribute multiplication over addition. And then the third step is to calculate the small products by using known facts. All right, and then the step 4 is to add up the parts. Okay. Now let us look at the example. Okay, it's not written here, but I'll give you an example. Okay, let's look at an example. All right, we said we first break down the number into their value parts. Say we have 100 multiplied by 13, right? 100 multiplied by 13 plus 7. Okay. Now what we do, okay, let me rather not say 100, let's say 114. 114 multiplied by 13 plus 7. Okay, so now what we do, we first break down the numbers into their value parts. All right, we know that when we have 114, since we did the place value parts last week, we already know now this week, okay, if I have 114, that needs to be broken down. Okay, then I have 100. I am going to write down 100. And then plus 10 plus 4 multiplied by 10 plus 3 plus 7. Okay, and now we distribute the multiplication over addition. Okay, we first take then the 114 multiplied by 7, we work out that, and then we come and add the 7. Okay, and then we calculate our small parts. All right, what we then do, we add up the parts, we get our answer, which is 1,489. I'm sorry that I did not write this so that you can be able to see it, but tomorrow I will be able to bring a slide that shows exactly what I am talking about. Okay, now let us move to our next slide. Okay, we have doubling and halving. That's another way of doing your multiplication. Okay, remember we said we'll use the known fact, or rather we'll be able to recall at the end of the lesson recall the multiplications, the easiest multiplication, the mental calculations, and then we'll also use one knowledge to help us build another knowledge. Okay, so now we are on our third rule, or rather on our third knowledge of multiplication factors that helps us build another knowledge. All right, now we are on doubling and halving. All right, you can double the answer of 3 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 15, and double it to get to 6 multiplied by 5 equals to 30, right? So which number have we doubled here on our screen? It is the 6, the first factor on our first sum. On our first sum, we have 3 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 15. And then for us to be able to know what 6 multiplied by 5 is, we doubled the first factor, which is 3, to a 6, and then we said 6 multiplied by 5 gives us a 30. All right, you can also have one factor to easily get the answer and double it back so that your answer or rather the product is correct. Okay, let's look at the example below. In the example here, we have 36 multiplied by 47. Okay, I think this is the example for the previous one. Okay, remember I thought that I didn't write it, but here it is appearing now on this slide. All right. So the example for our previous one, where you were doing the breakdown for the steps, it says 36 multiplied by 47 equals to 30 plus 6. You put those in parentheses, and then you say plus, open your parentheses, 40 plus 7. All right. And then your next step, you are grouping your distribution according to multiplication over addition. Then there we have in our parentheses 30 plus 6 multiplied by 40, and then plus 30 plus 6 multiplied by 7. And then now we get to our multiplication. 30 multiplied by 40 equals to, or rather, let's do the full step. 30 multiplied by 40 plus 6 multiplied by 40 plus 30 multiplied by 7 plus 6 multiplied by 7. So here our answer, 30 multiplied by 40, we have 1,200. 6 multiplied by 40, we have 240. Plus 30 multiplied by 7, we have 210. 6 multiplied by 7, we have 42. All right, if we're looking at what we mentioned earlier on, where you're looking at your tens and your easiest multiple, and you are able to tell what the answer is just by looking at 30 multiplied by 40, you are able to tell that it's going to be 1,200, because we already know 3 multiplied by 4 is 12, and you just add the number of zeros. How many zeros do we have? 1, 2, and then you add it there. Then the answer is 1,200. And also, if you know your multiples, which is 4 multiplied by 6, you know that the answer is 24. How many zeros do you have there? It's 1 0, and then you add the number of 0. Also, again, on 30 multiplied by 7, if you know that 3 multiplied by 7 is 21, how many zeros do I have? It's 1, then you add that 0 there, it is equal to 210. Then your easiest multiplication factors, which is 6 multiplied by 7, you get a 42. Now you give us your product, or rather your answer, which is 1,692. Okay. All right, now I have for us a table. I don't know if you are going to be giving answers. Theory, can you assist me in checking if they'll be able to give me answers? Will the learners be able to give me answers, because I want us to do this table, or will they use the chat box?
No, they won't be able to unmute themselves. They can post answers, otherwise you can just mark it tomorrow.
Okay, so should I give this as a homework? Is that
Yeah,
what
I
you're
think
saying?
so.
Okay. All right, then let me explain this homework. All right, earlier on we did the expansion of our multiplication, all right, by extending our factors. Here it says facts that can be easily formed by building on 3 multiplied by 8 is equal to 24. Okay, so if you know that 3 multiplied by 8 is 24, then you'll also be able to know 3 multiplied by 80, 3 multiplied by 800, 3 multiplied by 8,000. Remember, I just given you a technique that you can use, that you just look at the number of zeros between the factors that you are multiplying, and then you take your easiest multiplication. You go, okay, 3 multiplied by 8 is 24. How many zeros do I have? And then you add the number of zeros. All right, so this then should be your homework, because I won't be able now to interact with you, not unless you can be able to write quickly on the chat box. I don't know if that's possible. Is that possible? Theory?
I'm trying to get it. Just go on. I'll try to send you the answers.
Okay, then. All right. You can also, if we're unable to get to the chat box, that's fine. Tomorrow morning, the first thing that we're going to do is to look at this grid with all the possible answers. Okay. Okay, now I also had a workout of the mental calculation, because I wanted us to work out 41 multiplied by 7. All right, I think I'll do that. Let me do that with you. So 41 multiplied by 7, using the mental calculation first, and then applying the knowledge of one multiplication factor to build another one. All right, so what we're going to do here on A, we have 41 multiplied by 7. Okay, we're first going to put it in place value parts. We're going to have 40 multiplied by 7 plus 1 multiplied by 7. Okay, and then we're going to add our parts, and then we will get our answer. I'm not going to give you the answer. The second one also is 94 multiplied by 50. So we break that into value parts. 94, we know that 90, okay, 9 does not represent 9. Remember when we were doing value parts last week, we said a number does not just represent itself, it represents a value. Okay, so 9 in 94 represent 90, and 4 represent 4. So we are going to have 90 multiplied by 50 plus 4 multiplied by 50. Okay, and then we're going to have our answer. And also same thing for C. I don't know why I have two C's there, but I do apologize for that. 37 multiplied by 40. So we will also break it down into value parts. 30 multiplied by 40 plus 7 multiplied by 40. Okay, same thing that goes for D. 97 multiplied by 80. We will then have 90 multiplied by 80 plus 7 multiplied by 80. And then we deal with our distributive part, where we're looking at our multiplications first, and then we get the answers. We add all the value parts and get our answer. Okay, let us look at the next one. Okay, it says here, okay, this was going to be our homework. it says here, see which facts you can build from 6 multiplied by 24 and record your results in a table like the one we did in the previous slides. Okay, so this one is no longer going to be our homework. I am going to do it with you. All right, on our previous slide, we had a 3 multiplied by 24. So that one is your homework. And this one I'm going to do with you. Okay, we're going to build using the facts that we already have. Okay. 4 multiplied by 6 equals 24. Okay. Now on our grid, we are going to have on our left hand side, we are going to have 4, and then we build on, we will go to 40, and then we will go to 400, and the last one will be 4,000, right? And on your right, you will have 6, we will have 60, we will have 600, and the last one will be 6,000. Okay. Now looking at this, how are we going to execute in building the facts that we already know in building another one? Okay, on our previous slide, we saw that, okay, if we know the fact that says 4 multiplied by 6 is equal to 24, then we should be able to say 40, or rather, let's say 4 multiplied by 60 is 240. And then we use our 4 again. 4 multiplied by 600, how many zeros do we have there? It's 2. So then the answer will be 2,400. And 4 multiplied by 6,000, all right, we'll have 24,000. We move to our next one. Remember, on our grid, on our first column on our left, we have 4, 40, 400, and 4,000. And on our first row, we have 4 multiplied by 6 equals 24. And on our second row, we have 6, 60, 600, and 6,000. All right. Now we have dealt with the 4. We are moving on to 40. 40 multiplied by 6, that is going to give us 240. All right, if we're looking on our first row, or rather the second row where we said 4 multiplied by 60, can we see that 4 multiplied by 60 gives us 240, and then again 40 multiplied by 6 gives us 240. As we have mentioned earlier, that the commutative property says changing the factors does not change the product. So we are able to pick up that 4 multiplied by 60 gives us 240. This is another knowledge now that we're building from the commutative property. And 40 multiplied by 6 is also 240, right? Now our tens, we have our tens where next to the 4. The 40 now represents the tens, but on our first one, the 60 represented the tens. It's just like the 4 and a 6. When you swap it around, it still gives you the same answer. All right. Okay, now let us move on. 40 multiplied by 60. We know that is now 2,400. And then we have 40 multiplied by 600. We have there 24,000. And we have 40 multiplied by 6,000. Then we have here 240,000. Now we're moving on to our hundreds. Okay, the first 4 represent the units, the 40 represents the tens. Now we are on our hundreds according to the place value parts. We are on our hundreds where we multiply 400 multiplied by 6. It is 2,400. There's a pattern that I'm seeing here. And then 400 multiplied by 60. 400 multiplied by 60, then we have 24,000. And then we have 400 multiplied by 600, we have our 240,000. And then the last one would be 400 multiplied by 6,000. And then we have our 2,400,000. You see, now we are reaching the millions. So we're saying 400 multiplied by 600. Sorry, it's 240,000, not 2 million. Excuse. It's 240,000. And then 400 multiplied by 6,000 is 2,400,000. And then on our last one, where we multiply 4,000 multiplied by 6, our answer is 24,000. We have 24,000 there. Okay, and then 4,000 multiplied by 60. We have 240,000. And then we have 4,000 multiplied by 600. We have 4,000 multiplied by 600. We have 240. 240,000. Okay, no, we have 2 million. 400 multiplied by 6,000. It is the 2,400,000. And then the 4,000. Now we're multiplying the thousands only. 4,000 multiplied by 6,000. Then we have 24 million. At first, now we're looking at the pattern. Okay, at first we had 4 multiplied by 60, we had 240, and we also had 40 multiplied by 60, we had the 240. Those are the first pattern there that we can be able to pick up and see that, okay, if we multiply 40 by 6, we have 240. Also, if we multiply 4 by 60, we still get the 240. Okay, now going to our second pattern. If you multiply 4 by 600, your answer is 2,400. Again, if you multiply 40 by 60, your answer is still 2,400. All right, another pattern that we've picked up is that if you multiply 4 by 6,000, you will be able to get 24,000. And also, if you multiply 40 by 600, you still get your 24,000. All right, And another pattern that we've picked up, if you multiply 400 by 60, still you get your 24,000. And then if you multiply 4,000 by 6, you still get your 24,000. All right. And then another pattern that we have noticed here on the third column, sorry, on the third row, if you multiply 40 by 6,000, you get 240,000. If you multiply 400 by 600, you get your 240,000. Also, if you multiply 4,000 by 60, you still get your 240,000. So these are the things that we need to notice when we're doing our homework on the column that I've given you, or rather on the grid, on the first grid that says 3 multiplied by 8 equals 24. You must be able to notice, okay, there's a pattern here. These are the factors that I'm using. However, this is the product that I'm getting, and I am getting the same product for these type of numbers. All right, now let us continue. If you multiply, now the last pattern that I've noticed here is that if you multiply 400 by 6,000, you are able to get your 2,400,000, right? And then if you multiply 4,000 by 600, multiply 4,000 by 600, you still get 2,400,000. Okay, now those are the other two factors that we've noticed. 400 multiplied by 6,000 is your 2,400,000. 4,000 multiplied by 600 still get you 2,400,000 rand. Sorry, no rands. 400, 200. Okay. So what we've noticed here is that if we use the multiplication factors that we have, right? Firstly, we are given the simplest mental calculation, but we are asked to build on it, right? We are first given the simplest mental calculation, which is 6 multiplied by 4. The product is 24. And we are asked to build on it, where we go to our tens, to our hundreds, and to our thousands. Remember, I said, let me go back to this column so that we can be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to pop on my screen. Remember, we have looked at the factors 6 multiplied by 4, which gives us 24. Okay, and now we had to build on it. As I've said, how we're building, we're using our units, our tens, our hundreds, and thousands. If you're looking on your left, and on your first column, you have 8, you have 80, you have 800, and you have 8,000. However, the numbers that we have, this one is going to be your homework. The numbers that we have now that we are using, on our left, where there's 3, we have 4, where there's 30, we have 40, where there's 300, we have 400, and where there's 3,000, we have 4,000. And on top, where there's 8, we have 6, where there's 80, we have 60, where there's 800, we have 600, and where there's 8,000, we have 6,000. Now, what we have noticed is that 6 multiplied by 4 gives us 24. And then 6 multiplied by 60, sorry, 4 multiplied by 60 gives us 240, and 4 multiplied by 600 gives us 2,400, and 4 multiplied by 6,000 gives us 24,000. So this is what I want you to do for your homework. Do write this down before this class is finished. Or what you can do is to go to our YouTube channel. Sorry about that. What you can do is to go to our YouTube channel after this class. This lesson will be there so that you are able to complete your homework. All right. Remember, I've asked you also to do the mental calculation, but here you are also breaking it down into the value parts. And then you do the distributive of multiplication over addition. And then you add your small parts, and then you come up with the answer. So please do not forget to complete this work for me. And then tomorrow morning, this is going to be the first thing that we're going to be doing. All right. Do I have any questions on the chat box? If you can be able to tell me, I'd like to take questions. Theory, do I have any questions on the chat box?
The chat box is not seeming to work. So if they've got questions, they can just post it tomorrow. I'll speak to Microsoft tonight.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, not a problem. Okay, I think our lesson is going to end early then today because we don't have interaction with our students. Okay, remember grade 6 that we've learned the recalling of known facts and also the extending of multiplication facts. All right. And thank you so much for being part of our lesson today. And I hope that this lesson was fruitful. And I will see you again tomorrow. Please do come 8 o'clock. Our class will start, and we hope that tomorrow you'll be able to interact by giving the questions that you might have. But however, simply because at the moment our chat box is not available, you can always send me questions on my email. If you did not understand anything or would like me to go over something, you can always send me those questions to my email where it says abongolo@gmail.com. It is on our screen. And also you can follow us on our social media, @bit_ah, or you can follow us on our social media using the Africa Teen Gigs and also the Lockdown is School. Thank you so much for being part of the class today. I do hope to see you again tomorrow. And please do not hesitate to contact me if you do have any questions regarding today's class on my email, abongolo@gmail.com. I think we'll end early today by 6 minutes. Thank you so much.